Hello, microphone check 1 2 1 2. Hello and welcome to Atomic Movie Reviews Film Society. I am your host, Atomicon Rex. Here we discuss films that have a narrative background in aliens, ghosts, robots, and monsters. So without further ado, let's just jump into it. Okay, so we're going to do a deep dive today. Louis L. Lamonzdo, I can't even pronounce his name, released this book called Remnant. And he dropped some pretty big bombshells in that bad boy. And so we're going to discuss the main point that I derived from it, which is proof of the existence of vampires. And yes, I want my credit. I want my credit. I've been saying that they're vampires for the last 10 years. The last 10 years, I've been saying that cat mutilations, Jack the Ripper, the god Osiris, and all of that shit, they're all murdered by vampires. Okay? And you know, there's a little bit of history. There's some Egyptian myths about a vampire. I might do a deep dive about that a little later on. But I'll tell you how I was clued in to it being a vampire. So back in my pre-college days, when I was a teenager, me and my ex-wife, we were searching, right? Like we were like she was more of the spiritual person than I was. I mean, I'm a Pisces, so I'm actually more spiritual. But she would actually go to different churches and like actually try different things. Where I was raised in a church, so you had to be like, if you weren't a Baptist Christian, I didn't touch it, right? But anyways, she was raised a Catholic and she wasn't really satisfied with the whole Catholic thing. And so she would try new things like Buddhism and yoga and all of these. I got into a bunch of different things, basically following her. Well, anyways, she ends up befriending this one girl who was kind of fast for her age. Like we're like 16 years old, right? And so she's dating this this cult leader in this black Israelite group thing. Okay, so I attend a couple classes because they're kind of interesting. They have some interesting concepts, right? They're just vehemently racist, but you know, they have some interesting concepts. Well, anyways, I go to this place one day and I go by myself, right? And I can't believe I'm about to say this. And so I'm sitting there, right? And they got the whole, they're on stage and they have the whole, what is that called? Podium or whatever it is. Well, on it, there's a picture of the Alpha and Omega that is depicted in the book of Revelations, right? And so they're on this whole Black Messiah thing. Okay, so you got a picture of this black dude. And I swear to God, he has glowing red eyes. And he has this big afro, right? And the afro's white. Okay, and like, listen, I was raised in the church. I read the Bible 1,000 times. So they're depicting it pretty accurately, right? But how it's depicted in the book of Revelations. Now I'm going by memory. I don't have the quote in front of me, and I'm not about to open the Bible, right? So I'm going by memory. And basically what I remember is like this John dude lands on an island looking for somebody, some teacher, right? Comes across a man who's marble white. Like he says he has white skin. Now we're not talking white people. Okay, because I'm going to assume that the guy, John, is a fucking white man. Like, I'm going to assume that's what he is, right? So, this guy has, the Alpha and Omega has white skin, okay, white hair like wool, and bright red eyes, right? Now, listen for this. He sees him, and he drops, and he bows down, right? He drops to his knees, and he bows down, right? And he notices that this guy is walking. Now I'm going by memory, so you know it might be a little fuzzy. And he notices as this guy is walking that the vegetation around his feet is dying, right? And then so he looks up to him and he looks at his mouth, and he says he has knives for teeth, and there's blood on his chest, right? And so, like, me being an artist, I'm a natural artist, so when I read it, I drew it in my mind, right? And I was like, that don't look like Jesus at all. That looks like a vampire. And I'm 16 years old when I came across this, right? And it's always been kind of nagging me in the back of my head. Fast forward into the future, okay? I've stayed away. I'm into the UFO things, but I stay away from Bigfoot, and I stay away from cattle mutilations and all of this weird other shit, right? Well, lo and behold, it's all connected, right? And then so I find out that cattle mutilations, what's really strange about them is that they're completely drained of blood. Like, there's no blood found in the tissue of the cattle. So I thought that was strange. And like, it takes like weird parts from its body. Like, it'll take its genitals or like its heart, like weird things, right? And I also thought that was kind of weird and bizarre, right? And so I'm like, no, I think that they're vampires. I think they're vampires like Hellraiser, in a sense that they are magical beings that can open a portal and come into your room, okay, and rip you apart, like on some Hellraiser shit, and drain your blood and like just leave your corpse there, basically. And it's connected to like human combustion and like all kinds of other stuff. So I've been, like I posted a couple of things on like the Cosmic Wonder and Vedet and all of this stuff, right? And I'm always like, I'll just put vampire, like vampire ... right? That's all I put. Sometimes they respond, like the Cosmic Wonder responded. I don't think the guy from Vedet responded. But the Cosmic Wonder responded. And I was just like, yeah, bro, like I think they're literally Hellraisers, but that they're vampires. And they like prey on us. Okay. Well, here's a quote from Louis, and it's gonna run about 3 minutes long. And so I'm gonna let him explain to you what's going on. Okay, and I'm gonna leave it at that. And I'm gonna let you, the audience, form your own conclusion. I think they're vampires. I think the cattle mutilations and human combustion and people going missing, hundreds of thousands of people going missing every year, is due to these dark entities, these hidden societies and dark forces that are really just vampires. So that's my opinion. So I'm gonna let Louis tell you what he thinks, and I'm gonna leave it at that. Here you go.
More than 3,500 case files. Uchoa's voice cracked as he spoke of the human toll. Dr. Carvalho treated about 40 people in 1977. Most had burns consistent with exposure to either thermal or directed energy. The burns healed once the skin peeled off, but some were left with major scars. Others had rashes. In the fresh wounds of 23 people, Carvalho noticed that the center of the burn displayed 2 puncture wounds, and when she tested the victim's blood, she found that all of them had low hemoglobin, which suggested that the fear of the chupa chupa was not completely unfounded. Pratt's findings struck me as particularly harrowing. He logged more than 300 animals found dead of unknown causes during this time. 34 citizens complained of irritated eyes, 5 reported temporary blindness, 8 reported a negative change in their vision. 41 complained of a prolonged feeling of nausea and sometimes vomiting. 55 individuals reported extreme headaches. I wondered if these people had experienced some form of radiation damage. If true, the kind of damage they were discussing was consistent with the harmful effects of, say, microwave radiation, or the improper handling of medical isotopes, or weapons-grade radioactive fuel. 46 people described feeling heat when the light of the aircraft focused on them. 28 people felt a pocket of cold air. About 18 people insisted they had been abducted by beams that sucked them into the craft. Pratt also verified that some of these people were found far away from the site of the original encounter with no memory of traveling there. 14 people remained in a catatonic state for short periods following an encounter. 54 suffered a temporary paralysis in some part of their body, and 36 people claimed chronic illness plagued them for years after. Of that group, 10 people died. That struck me. These people were dead, ostensibly from a UAP. In some cases, witnesses managed to catch a glimpse of their attackers. Descriptions of the occupants of these otherworldly vehicles broke down into two types: beings that appeared to be pale, tall, adult humanoids, and beings with disproportionately large heads and frail bodies about 3 or 4 feet tall. As I would later learn, these two descriptions, the so-called Nordics and Greys, fit the profile of alleged aliens from countless close encounters the world over.
Yes, sir. That was just a small clip. So if you want to know more, you got to, pick up his book. You got to do your own research. But I just wanted to quote that as a reference point to one of my points about the phenomenon. There's a little bit more. It's basically Ghostbusters. So like the vampire is just one type of ghost. Like there are other types of ghosts. Okay. The subject matter of this discussion is the undead vampire, the necromancy as a whole, as a possibility, as a form and practice of magic actually being real. So that's kind of the secret that's kind of being kept, that there are, undead things walking out there. So basically, to sum it up, basically what he's saying is that the tall whites with the high cheekbones and vast telekinetic powers are the Draculas of said organization. And I would say that the small grays or the little green men are like the leprechauns, or like what would be known as the gypsies. Like it's the gypsies kind of became associated with like an ancient Egyptian society that was like cast, like the remnants of an ancient Egyptian society, but they actually may be like little magical leprechauns and actually maybe real beings so alien that they're actually magical, is the point that I want to conclude with. Okay. All right. So that's what I want to sum it up with and conclude it. Confirm that the cattle mutilations and things that are draining their blood may be vampire related. And if you want to stop such phenomenon, you probably should put some garlic out there. If you get cattle and it's being mutilated, plant some garlic grows. Honestly, because they're ghosts, so you can't really you can't really kill the vampire. Like there's no really killing the ghost. Okay, you can like banish it, but there's no really there's nothing you could really do. But you have to use like magic as remedies and stop playing with the cult bullshit and summoning things and all of that, and you should be all right. Atomic Rex out. Talk to you later. Bye bye.